So I'm delighted to be joined here by professional boxer Jack Hughes. So Jack, the last time you fought was in 2023. We're now in 2025. I know in a previous interview you've said that you fell out of love with the sport. Why was, now the time you decided to come back, and how did you fall back in love with the sport of boxing?
Well, I think obviously at the time when I had retired, there was a lot going on. Boxing's a very stressful sport. I just had a baby at the time, and training, like going away all the time. I was missing being with my family and things like that. And I was getting messed around with a lot of fights. Like I was getting offered a lot of fights. Then people were turning them down. Then people were moving dates on me, and it all just got a bit too much in the end. And it was the right time, I think, to step away at that point. And then, like all things, absence makes the heart grow stronger, as they say. And I think I definitely needed a break, and I needed to like kind of reevaluate certain things in my life. And yeah, and I just think I got to a point now where I kind of sorted everything out I needed to sort out. I've juggled, training and my family life, and I just felt right. It just felt right to step back into the world of boxing. And plus, I promised my missus I'd get her a trip to Disney World. So it's a good time to make some extra cash.
How would you say that your goals and ambitions have changed over time within the sport?
Um, I think before my goal when I first started out was just to get something to take away, like some kind of title, and I've done that now. I've won a challenge belt, which are no longer around anymore. Then I won the Southern Area, and I've also won a Fight of the Year award in 2022. So I've gotten quite a lot to take away. So I'm fully happy with all of that. And I guess now it it is and it isn't really so much about more titles. I mean, more titles is obviously great, but I'm more so much about the experience of just boxing now and enjoying myself. Like I want to travel abroad, which is I'm doing that twice this year now already. I'm going to Belfast and I'm going to the States, which is obviously everyone's dream. And that is pretty much my dream now is to go and fight in America. Um, I've always kind of considered myself an American kid at heart. I love America, so they're my people out there. So to go out there and actually fight out there and put on a show out there is, the thing that dreams are made of for me, and that is my next goal in boxing is to do that.
So when most boxers announce their comeback, they announce one fight at a time. You've gone and announced three quite big fights. Why have you decided to do that and not just go on a fight by fight basis?
Well, so some of them kind of just happened by accident, if I'm being honest with you. The only one that I was actually properly scheduled for was the one on April the 5th, which is against Joe Collins, which is the UK versus America show, which obviously what I was just talking about was getting to America. I mean, this one's in the UK, but it's kind of like the stepping stone to get to that. And then the one I've got in America is going to be in July. But so the other two against Jack Williams and Jack O'Neill, I was just kind of like coming back into boxing. And I was getting the weight off of me, and my promoter just called me up one day and said, "Oh, like we've got an offer from Jack Williams if you'd want to take that fight." And it's kind of funny because I didn't really want to take the fight because Jack's actually a really good friend of mine. Like we know each other really well. And I was like, "Oh, John," I was like, "He's my friend, man. I don't really know if I want to take that fight." And he was just saying to me like, "Oh, Jack really wants to step up now in his second fight, and they're offering good money for it, and so on and so forth." So after a while, I kind of thought about it, and I was like, "You know what? I've come back for big fights and to earn some money. And I was like, Jack is a big fight because I think he's going to go very far in the sport. They've offered me good money for it. It's another experience to fight in like a different venue, a different location. And I was like, you know what? Let's take the fight. Let's give Jack an opportunity to prove himself and to be as good as I think he can be. And so I was like, yeah, let's take it then. So we ended up taking that fight. And then one day I was just scrolling through BoxRec and I come across the Paddy Donovan fight, and I was like, oh, this is a good fight, like good card and that. And I was just looking through everyone that was on the card, and I see someone called Jack O'Neill was on the card and didn't have an opponent, and he was at super bantamweight. And I was like, oh, I was like, I'm putting myself out there for that fight. So I went straight on social media and just called him out. And lo and behold, I got the fight on the zone on a massive card in Belfast. And yeah, so here we are now. Obviously, got four fights scheduled until July time.
With having three fights lined up, does the preparation and training kind of change having fights so close together?
Well, it's definitely going to be a hard and taxing time on my body, that's for sure. But I think as a professional fighter, sometimes these are the things that you've just got to like relish in and take these opportunities. And it is gonna be the only thing that I'm kind of like worried, not even necessarily worried, but it's just like it's going to be a lot of time away from my family, which is the only thing that's going to be hard on me. But apart from that, I'm generally just looking forward to the whole experience of every fight, of every experience. It's because it's going to be such a great ride. I've got Ipswich, then I've got Belfast, then I've got Stamford Bridge, and then I've got America. So it's going to be a great um 6 or 7 months like of training and just hard work. And yeah, I've just got to try and avoid getting cut or injured in any of these fights, because if anything happens like that, it could be one fight off. So that's not what I want to happen. But at the same time as well, it's I've got a very fan friendly style as well. So it is likely that one of them things could happen, but time will tell. We just have to pray that it doesn't.
So the first fight of your comeback will be against 1-0 prospect Jack Williams in Ipswich, which will be taking place this week. Why this fight for your comeback?
Honestly think that we're going to steal the show. I think it's going to be an incredible fight. Um, Jack's a very good boxer. He's tall, he's strong, and he does hit hard as well. I was actually really shocked he never stopped Jake Pollard on his debut. But yeah, I just think it's going to be a great all-out war, pretty much, between two great fighters. And yeah, I don't want to spoil the ending yet for you, but it's going to be a great fight.
So all three fighters you will be facing in your three comeback fights, they're all undefeated. Is that in a way to kind of prove to yourself that you do still have it in you to fight some of the best names and best prospects in your division?
Yeah, yeah, 110%. And the reason why I do this as well is because if I'm being honest with you, I think boxing's a bit of a joke sport, and I think that everyone in it is a coward pretty much. And I've had I've called out so many people, and I've had way more people turn down fights with me than accept them in the 9 years I've been a pro. And boxing now is become so easy to not fight people and get the easiest possible fight for you just to keep moving forward, to con your fans and to con the public into making out that you're something that you're actually really not. And I've never wanted to do that. I've always taken the hardest fights possible. Like for instance, people may look at his record and not think much of him, but I fought Paul Roberts twice and we won fight of the year. And I think Paul Roberts' record now is it's 7-7-2 or 6-6-2. But Paul Roberts is a free weight champion. He won the Southern Area at Fly, won the Commonwealth silver at light fly, and in my opinion should have been Commonwealth champion, but got robbed in the scorecards. So he's a real contender. He ain't no joke. And then I've also fought Ricky Little in a great fight that we had, and um he was Southern Area champion. Then I fought the African champion who was like two weights above me. Then I fought Lewis Roberts, who in my opinion I beat, but his hometown, I lost on a split decision. It is what it is. But he was a weight above me and now has won the Commonwealth silver and he's English champion and he's 11-0 undefeated. And now I'm fighting Jack Williams, 1-0 prospect, Jack O'Neill, 3-0 prospect on the zone, and then Joe Collins, 5-0, five knockouts all in the first round. So I don't take easy fights. I don't want to take easy fights, and I don't want to be this guy that's remembered as the guy that had the easiest route to this title and to this venue and that thing, because that isn't. Everyone wants to call themselves a fighter, but no one wants to fight anyone. So how are you a fighter? I want to be known as a fighter, a real fighter, man. That would have fought anyone that did fight everyone that got offered to him. And my promoter says it to me all the time. Calls me up, mentions the name. I say yes, and he says, "I wish every single fighter was like you, Jack, because most people don't want to fight anyone." And that's the truth. I think boxing's full of cowards, and I think it's full of people that don't want to fight anyone. And I think the sport's a joke. So I'm here to try and make the sport not a joke. That's my mission in boxing.
Then in March, you take on Irish prospect Jack O'Neill, which is on the stacked card in Belfast, which is obviously headlined by Lewis Crocker v Paddy Donovan. Just how excited are you to be on that card and live on DAZN?
Yeah, no, it feels great, mate. Like it's the biggest platform you can be on. Obviously, Matchroom and the Zone. It's where realistically every fighter wants to get to. And as I said, I wanted to travel and have new experiences, and this is one of the best experiences you can get in boxing. It's on the card of a world title eliminator in the SES arena, which holds like 11,000 people in Belfast, Northern Ireland, on the biggest platform you can get. So I'm absolutely buzzing just to be a part of that show.
How do you see that fight going between Paddy and Lewis Crocker?
I haven't seen much of Lewis Crocker, if I'm being honest, but I know he's a pretty good fighter. But I have seen a little bit of Paddy, and I know Paddy's very, very good. And he actually fought my friend years ago, Jamani Camaro, when he was first starting out. I think Paddy wins the fight, and I think it's going to be a great fight as well. Like, I'm actually really looking forward to having my fight and then sitting and watching it. Um, but yeah, I think Paddy will probably stop him, but late on in the fight. But I think it's going to be a proper cracker.
So I know when you fight, you always say you want to steal the show. It's going to be quite hard to steal the show from that main event.
I always steal the show, no matter what fight I'm on. So yeah, I do believe that I'm going to steal the show again. So and I think it's going to be a great opponent for me as well. The guy is two or three weights bigger than me, however you want to call it. I'm a super flyweight. It's that super bantam, but which is two weights. But I know that my whole career I could have always made fly, but I just never got the opportunity. So two or three, however you want to call it, bigger than me. Um, he's massive as well. He's a super bantamweight, and he's like 5'10", so he's massive for the weight. But I don't think he's looks very strong at all. And one of my biggest strengths is my strength. And from what I've been told, he doesn't hit very hard, even though he fought yesterday and knocked out Luke Flash in the first round. But I've been told that he actually doesn't hit that hard. Um, and obviously I watched him fight yesterday, And even though it was a first round knockout, I was kind of watching it and I wasn't majorly impressed by what I saw. Don't get me wrong, he's not bad, but I wasn't like, yeah, this is the kind of prospect that should be fighting on the zone all the time, kind of thing. But so yeah, I think it's gonna be a great fight, all out action from round one. So if you're tuning into the zone that night, make sure you definitely keep an eye on that fight.
How about the third fight of your comeback, facing undefeated prospect from the US, Joe Collins, on the Stamford Bridge show on April the 5th? That's not far away now. You must be getting quite excited for that.
Yeah, yeah, not at all. And especially with the two fights lined up, it's gonna fly by, mate, 100%. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to that. It's another great, obviously great venue, Stamford Bridge. Like great opportunity, great show. Like it's gonna be on a big platform. It's got Fight Zone and Talk Sport coming down, and we've got loads of like media planned and press conferences and everything in the build up to that. So it's gonna feel like I'm on the actual big stage itself. So I'm just buzzing about that as well.
Just how important do you think small hall shows to boxing are?
Yeah, I think they're just as important as any because it helps everyone get out there, helps everyone like build. Some of the best fights I've ever seen have been at small hall boxing, especially when you get for like the Southern area and the English titles. And again, most of the best fights are at small hall, I believe, because as I was talking about earlier, especially if you're signed by like Boxer, Matchroom, and Warren, it's so easy for you to map your career and get the easiest fights possible. Um, so that's why a lot of the time in the bigger shows, I think most of the fights are just boring and just like 80-20 in people's favor and stuff. So if I was a guy trying to sell someone like a new boxing fan to boxing, I would definitely be taking them to small hall rather than big hall. So yeah, I think small hall is very, very important.
Jack Hughes, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, mate.